So just to start off, it's just a generic slide that I wanted to go over. And the reason why is I find that although every owner loves direct bookings and we're here committed to helping you achieve more direct bookings, unfortunately, the self-catering accommodation sector has become a really highly competitive market. And it's one where online travel agents, or we call them OTAs, have become increasingly prominent and therefore an essential part of your marketing mix. In fact, if we look at some of the stats, just channel bookings in SuperControl have grown by an average of 44% year on year over the last 3 years. In fact, a quarter of all of our bookings taken in SuperControl actually now come through OTAs. And in fact, our channel manager calculates, I think they say it's about 734 million prices to send live to OTA listings. So we're getting queries from channels all the time. Channels are really not something to be scared of. If used correctly, they really could be a valuable tool to increase your visibility of properties and obviously allow you to enter and branch out into new markets. Now, just broadly speaking, there are three types of channels that you can integrate with through the channel manager. We've got the first one listed, and that's international. The international channels include things like Airbnb, Booking.com, Vrbo, HomeAway, and TripAdvisor. We then have the second list, which is the UK-based and regional ones, and these would include things like cottages.com, Premier Cottages, Visit Scotland, and SimpleView. Now, SimpleView is also one which powers many region-specific platforms as well. We then have a third one, which is the niche or specialist channels that we integrate with. So there's a number of specialist ones that we integrate with, and these are glamping and camping sites, family-friendly travel sites, group booking specialists, and many more. Now, if you use SuperControl's channel manager, it really offers you the opportunity to stay basically in control of your bookings while still boosting your visibility and benefiting from the thousands of guests that browse these different travel search engines every day. So basically, it's allowing you to show up where your guests are looking. Now, we do have an evolving roster of available channels. That means that you could list and diversify and get your property out there on a number of different channels. And by diversifying in this distribution channel, not only are you adding your listings to booking channels that could obviously help you to attract a broader range of guests and therefore minimize the risk of vacancies, particularly those late availabilities, but you're sure to maximize your occupancy rates and so boost your revenues in 2023 and beyond. I do find that it's quite useful to chat about the channel manager and some of the terminologies that sorts of float about that you need to consider, because every channel is different that we connect with. And because of that, the way we integrate with them also varies. Obviously, we're also trying to evolve and change and match whatever changes those platforms are making. So I find that grasping some of these common terms will help you actually understand the workings and the setup of these different connections that we have with the channels. So the first one I want to just go over is about one-way versus two-way integrations. Now, most channels do not only just pull data and availability from SuperControl, but will also send back availability in SuperControl. And this is called a two-way integrations. Now, Airbnb is an example of a two-way integrations. You do also have one-way integrations. It's not as common. And a one-way integration can be something like an iCal link. I'm not sure if you've heard of an iCal link before. One ways can be made into two ways as well by two iCal links, one that does the import, one does the export, for example. That's in terms of the one-way versus two-way integrations. We then have the different types of connections. Now, you've got availability only and iCal integrations. So this is one I chatted about a little bit earlier. So this is where basically SuperControl just sends over the availability and pricing, but the channel doesn't send anything back. And so typically those are the ones that are those niche and specialist channels that I mentioned before. They're very, very simple. They basically just block out the dates in your calendar, meaning that no one else could actually book them. We don't get any details in terms of what the booking is related to. We then sort of go up in a next step in terms of connections. And this one is called a rates and availability integration. And those are the ones where SuperControl sends over availability and pricing and the channel sends back bookings, but they can sometimes send us more details, and they also often accept more information, our discounts, for example. And with Airbnb, the rates and availability only is the connection that we use to link to those properties that you've already created on Airbnb. So your existing property listings on Airbnb. So that is what we call rates and availability integration. We then have the full integration. With Airbnb, we have the option to use a full integration. And this is where things like your content, so things like your photos, your amenities, your descriptions that you have written up within your SuperControl and property settings, these can be pulled directly from SuperControl. And we use this connection to create a new channel property listing on channel on your behalf. So it's a really useful tool because obviously this means that all the information about the property only needs to be added once within SuperControl, and then it can be pushed through to multiple channels. So for example, your content within SuperControl, you can use it to create a new listing on Airbnb, Booking.com, and Vrbo. And the only place you update everything is in one place, and that is on SuperControl. So you don't have to go on each of the different platforms and create the listings themselves. Rather, you use your SuperControl information to create those listings. I did also want to just let you know in terms of the channel service fee. So I've let you know about how channel bookings have grown so much over the last couple of years. Because of this, and obviously it's a trend that's actually continuing, because of this, around 30% of our developer capacity is actually spent on developing the functionality of these various OTA integrations. And in fact, 50% of our infrastructure, so that's the servers and things like that, are actually dedicated to supporting these. Now, because of this, we are obviously committed to your financial stability. It requires us to invest further into developing and supporting these different channel integrations. And this is the reason why we have the channel service fee. It's there to make sure that this service remains sustainable over time. What is the channel service fee? It's a 1% plus VAT on the total accommodation value of the bookings received via our channel, so OTAs. We do not charge the fee on itemized extras, so those things such as booking or cleaning fees, for example. And it also only applies to those bookings that are received from Booking.com, Airbnb, HomeAway, TripAdvisor, and Expedia, so those big international ones. And the reason being is because these are the sites that are constantly evolving and therefore require the vast majority of our resourcing. There's no service fee or channel fees from those niche or regional channels, those member organizations and associations that we connect with. And obviously, again, just to reiterate, it's only for those sites that are constantly evolving. It's also itemized on a booking. You can see each and every single one. Right, let's just focus now on Airbnb. So in terms of the Airbnb story, basically they launched in San Francisco in 2008, and it was basically after their founders rented out an inflatable airbed in their spare bedroom and just rented it out to people. And basically since then, they've now just expanded phenomenally. They now have more than 7 million active listings worldwide. In fact, the stats that they've got is that Airbnb have supported over 4 million hosts, and these people have welcomed over 1.5 billion guest arrivals in almost every country. In fact, they're across 220 plus countries across the globe. And so basically, it really is simply a good time to list on Airbnb and be seen, especially if your property has late availability. As mentioned, we've had a fantastic two-way integration and full booking integration with Airbnb. So again, it allows you as a super controller to manage your Airbnb listings directly from within your super control account. Our connection with Airbnb basically means you can sync existing listings with rates and availability. So those are the ones that you've already created on the platform, or you can create new full content Airbnb listings using your SuperControl data. We accept live online bookings. This means the integration actually enables Instabook on Airbnb only. So that basically means that bookings made on Airbnb, they have this setting called Instant Book, and a guest would confirm the reservation right away without approval from the host owner. So on SuperControl, for example, when you receive a direct bookings, they're all seen as provisional until confirmed with the guest because you've had some sort of deposit payment. But on Airbnb, basically the booking is confirmed and payment is made when the guest makes a booking. This is very handy because it means you do not need to respond to each request. Guests can plan their trip and make a booking instantly. And it also has a positive effect on your response rate. It allows you also to obtain what they call superhost status. So on Airbnb, in order to get a superhost statement, you need to have 90% response rate. And obviously Instabook means that you can actually reach the status, which is great, which means that your listings are ranked higher and so appear visible to guests first. There is no set listing fee. Airbnb rather has what we call a commission-based model, where Airbnb take a percentage fee plus VAT from each bookings that Airbnb generate on your behalf. So there's no fee to actually list on them. Rather, it's just a fee based on every single booking that you get. They're also low risk in the fact that you have the option to basically switch them off and switch them on within SuperControl when and if you want. You do also have the option, for example, only during your off seasons. If you want, you can block your availability so you can only get direct bookings. So if you've got certain customers or market trend that you need to look after, you're able to do that as well.